Very good morning, dear children. This is L.K. Tripathi from LPM Public School, Gola Bazar, Gorakhpur. Welcome to the new video lecture. We shall discuss about political executive today. And the political executive of the country is very important institution of the government. This bear all the responsibility related to the working of the government. So let's discuss it properly and try to understand. Do you remember the story of office memorandum with which this started this chapter? Definitely you would be knowing about that. What is OM means office memorandum. This is very important point of the government and concerning two different departments. The orders are issued from there. We found out that the person who signed the document did not take this decision. He was only executing the policy decisions taken by someone else. We noted the role of the Prime Minister in taking the decision, but we also know that he could not have taken that decision if he did not have support from the Lok Sabha. In that sense, he was only executing the wishes of the parliament. This is true that without getting support of Lok Sabha, Prime Minister also cannot take decision alone. Only he can execute the wishes of the parliament. This is depend upon the majority of the parliament to take decision related to any matter. Thus, at different levels of any government, we find functionaries who take day-to-day decisions but do not exercise supreme power on behalf of the people. All those functionaries are collectively known as the executive. They are called executive because they are in charge of the execution of the policies of the government. Thus, when we talk about the government, we usually mean the executive. Political and permanent executive. What is that? In a democratic country, two categories make up the executive. What are they? What are the two categories? One that is elected by the people for a specific period is called the political executive. Political leaders who take the big decisions fall in this category. In the second category, people are appointed on a long term basis. This is called the permanent executive or civil services. Persons working in civil services are called civil servants. They remain in office even when the ruling party changes. These officers work under political executive and assist them in carrying out the day-to-day administration. Can you recall the role of political and non-political executive in the case of the office memorandum? You might ask, why does the political executive have more power than the non-political executive? Why is the minister more powerful than the civil servant? The civil servant is usually more educated and has more expert knowledge of the subject. The advisors working in the finance ministry know more about economics than the finance minister. Sometimes the ministers may know very little about the technical more about concern than the finance ministers. Sometimes the ministers may know very little about the technical matters that come under their ministry. This could easily happen in ministries like defense, industry, health, science and technology, mines, etc. Why should the minister have the final say on these matters? The reason is very simple. In a democracy, the will of the people is supreme. The minister is an elected representative of the people and thus empowered to exercise the will of the people on their behalf. She is finally answerable to the people for all the consequences of her decision. That is why the minister takes all the final decisions. The minister decides the overall framework and objectives in which decisions on policies should be made. The minister is not and is not expected to be an expert in the matters of her ministry. The minister takes the advice of experts on all technical matters, but very often experts hold different opinions or place before her more than one option, depending on what the overall objective is. The minister decides. Actually, this happens in any large organization. These and those who understand the overall picture take the most important decisions. Not the experts. The experts can tell the route, but someone with a large view decides the designation. In a democracy, elected ministers perform this role. Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. Prime Minister is the most important political institution in the country. Yet there is no direct election to the post of the Prime Minister. The President appoints the Prime Minister, but the President cannot appoint anyone she likes. The President appoints the leader of the majority party or the coalition of parties that commands a majority in the Lok Sabha as Prime Minister. In case no single party or alliance gets a majority, the President appoints the person most likely to secure a majority support. The Prime Minister does not have a fixed tenure. He continues in power so long as he remains the leader of the majority party or coalition. After the appointment of the Prime Minister, the President appoints other ministers on the advice of the Prime Minister. The ministers are usually from the party or the coalition that has the majority in the Lok Sabha. The Prime Minister is free to choose ministers as long as they are members of Parliament. Sometimes a person who is not a member of Parliament can also become a minister. But such a person has to get elected to one of the House of Parliament within 6 months of the appointment as minister. This is necessary for the person to be appointed or to be elected for the Parliament either from one house. Council of Ministers is the official name for the body that includes all the ministers. It usually has 60 to 80 ministers of different ranks. Cabinet ministers are usually top level leaders of the ruling party or parties who are in charge of the major ministry. Usually, the cabinet ministers meet to take decisions in the name of the Council of Ministers. Cabinet is thus the inner ring of the Council of Ministers. It comprises about 25 ministers. Ministers of state with independent charge are usually in charge. Ministers of state with independent charge are usually in charge of smaller ministries. They participate in the cabinet meetings only when specially invited. Ministers of state are attached to and required to assist cabinet ministers. Since it is not practical for all ministers to meet regularly and discuss everything, the decisions are taken in cabinet meetings. That is why parliamentary democracy in most countries is often known as the cabinet form of government. The cabinet works as a team. The ministers may have different views and opinion, but everyone has to own up to every decision of the cabinet. No minister can openly criticize any decision of the government, even if it is about another ministry or department. Every ministry has secretaries who are civil servants. The secretaries provide the necessary background information to the ministers to take decisions. The cabinet as a team is assisted by the cabinet secretariat. This includes many senior civil servants who try to coordinate the working of different ministries. Powers of the Prime Minister. The Constitution does not say very much about the powers of the Prime Ministers or the ministers or their relationship with each other. But as head of the government, the Prime Minister has wide ranging powers. He chairs cabinet meetings, he coordinates the work of different departments. His decisions are final in case disagreements arise between departments. He exercises general supervision of different ministries. All ministers work under his leadership. The Prime Minister distributes and redistributes work to the ministers. He also has the power to dismiss ministers. When the Prime Minister quits, the entire ministry quits. Thus, if the cabinet is the most powerful institution in India, within the cabinet it is the Prime Minister who is the most powerful. The powers of the Prime Minister in all parliamentary democracies of the world have increased so much in recent decades that parliamentary democracies are sometimes seen as prime ministerial form of government. As political parties have come to play a major role in politics, the prime minister controls the cabinet and parliament through the party. The media also contributes to this trend by making politics and elections as a competition between top leaders of parties. In India too, we have seen such a tendency towards the concentration of powers in the hands of the Prime Minister. Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, exercised enormous authority because he had great influence over the public. Indira Gandhi was also a very powerful leader compared to her colleagues in the cabinet. Of course, the extent of power wielded by a prime minister also depends on the personality of the person holding that position. However, in recent years, the rise of coalition politics has imposed certain constraints on the power of the prime minister. The prime minister of a coalition government cannot take decisions as he likes. He has to accommodate different groups and factions in his party as well as among alliance partners. He also has to heed to the views and positions of the coalition partners and other parties on whose support the survival of the government depends. In this way, we have discussed about the political executive importantly. Next discussion will be taking place in the next video, and we shall be meeting with the discussion about the President of India, the powers and position of the President. Till then, goodbye.